Welcome back, guys. So today we're going to be taking a look at Hyperkin's Admiral. It's their premium wireless Bluetooth controller for the Nintendo 64. Can also be used on PC, Mac, and Android as it is a Bluetooth controller. To use it on Nintendo 64, you have to use its included dongle. That dongle actually has some interesting features. We'll get into that in a moment. States that it works up to 30 feet wirelessly, which from my tests, I got to about 20 feet or so. I don't have that much space, and it seemed to work fine. Back of the box states take your game night to the next level with the Hyperkin Admiral. We're going to find that out today because I've been using this thing quite a bit and I have a lot to say about it. So wireless options for Nintendo 64 have been fairly slim. We haven't really had anything. I've always been a wired type guy. Always. Especially with original controllers and retro consoles. But there's been some companies like Retrobit and 8BitDo who have sold me on the wireless nature of playing your games on retro consoles because they've done some damn good things. This Hyperkin controller, a lot of people are looking forward to. I have a lot to say about it today. Disclaimer, these are my thoughts and opinions. Do with them as you will. I'm not here to influence you. I'm here to give you my opinions, my thoughts, my experiences. So every time I do a controller review, it's sometimes controversial. So not always, but sometimes. You know what I'm saying. So here we go. Some of the features of this thing. 500 milliamp hour battery, lasts about 6 hours. I think that's kind of low, but hey, it is what it is. So comes in two flavors, white and black. Whatever you want, they got it. If you want white or black anyway, right? I did tear the black one down, so we'll get into that in a moment because it had to be done. Have to share that with you guys. You may be wondering why I have these other Nintendo 64 controllers over here. They kind of come in to an important aspect of this review, and we'll explain that in a second. But let's get into the dongle. Come on, Bish, get out of there. Tight fit, by the way. Very damn tight fit. I think it's because of these tabs on the side of the connector. It's just very tight. But you'll see. A pretty nice little dongle. It feels like a solid thing here. There are some instructions on how to use this thing. You don't really need to know much as long as you leave that into the CM position and sync it up, you're good to go. But the cool thing with this that a lot of people will find interesting is going to be that you could pop in your memory pack, boom, and transfer saves between that to a micro SD card. The sync button up here, you use that to sync the controller initially, and the controller also has a sync button, as you can see there. You would just hold those buttons till these damn things start flashing. A little light down there, boom, light over here, boom, flashes, syncs up, you're good to go. Start playing your games. If you turn this switch to TM mode, that's like the transfer mode. Bam, hit that sync button, transfers from memory pack to SD card. Now, some people may be like, well, how the hell do I transfer back, right? Well, in the instruction manual, they got you covered. They explain it in good detail. I think this manual does a good job of explaining how things work. So it tells you, if you transfer saves, they'll be in one specific file name. It'll be listed as r.mpk. So to transfer it back to your memory card, doing the same process, the TM and then hitting the sync button, you want to change that file on your computer to w.mpk, put it back on the micro SD card, pop it in this bish, press that button, transfer it over, you're good to go. So I think that is a very useful feature. A lot of the popular games have game pack saves, but controller pack or memory pack saving comes in handy for a bunch of games, but also, there's some games that do both. So you could use this to transfer to another game pack if you so chose, that kind of thing. So there's some uses there. Interesting device, the way that works. I thought that was pretty neat. To sync it up, see, this thing is a fucking man. Okay. Nope, I don't want to have it into the transfer mode. So there we go. I've already synced it, so this one should just sync right up. We should be good with that. Now, let's just jump into a game. There's a few things that I really have to point out with this. Oh, by the way, it comes with a long-ass micro USB cable to charge this thing after your 6 hours of playtime. So once you hit like 4, you better plug it in. But let's get into it. Everything responds well for the most part. Now, these buttons, very, very like, I don't know if you can hear it, like, them some chunky ass buttons, man. They take a lot more pressure to press and they feel cheap to me. And there's a reason for that. And we'll get into that in the teardown in a second here. Now, I've used this for a few hours, and it took me a while to get used to it. With the longer throw on the buttons in order for them to register, and there's a little bit of latency. It is Bluetooth. For me, it doesn't bother me that much, but it is there. But like to do that triple jump there, it took me a little while to get used to this, just to get the timing right, because it is quite different than using any other controller. But everything works. Now, my issues and my concerns. Going back to these little fellas right here, and we're going to do a benchmark on the analog in a moment so you guys can have that information as well. But going back to all these, the Retro Fighters, Brawler 64, the Retrobit Tribute 64, and then an original Nintendo 64 with a modified joystick, but that doesn't matter. All these controllers, they have a curve to them. They've got some curvature going on the face, on the buttons. The Retrobit or the Retro Fighters one, not as much on the buttons. We'll get into that in a second because I find this kind of odd. But there is a slight curve, like rounding around the edge of the buttons on that. The Retrobit and the Nintendo 64 one's fairly identical face buttons as far as the C and the A and B goes. So I found that pretty nice with those. They feel good. They're not like clunky ass buttons. Even the Retro Fighters, they feel pretty well. You're not like really hitting it. You just hit it, press it a little bit, and it's good. These, you're like it doesn't even. I think it might not have even registered one of my presses right there, which happens occasionally, not too often. I've only noticed it maybe twice where something didn't register for me. Maybe it just didn't depress all the way. It is quite a bit of a longer throw for that button to register. See what I mean? I don't know if you see what I mean. But now, as far as that curvature goes, look at this, man. We got a flat top here. If this didn't have buttons on this, I could use this as a serving tray. I don't like that because it's a comfort issue. This does rest in my hands just fine, but I find this flat top, man, this kid and play flat top a little odd. The analog stick, I'm fine with. But the buttons, they're all flat. There's barely a curvature around them. So it's not like they're sharp. They're all round buttons, but they just don't feel as comfortable as a rounded button does. Subjective? Sure. Why the hell not? But I'm pointing it out. Now, I want to show one thing here real quick. Maybe this is important. Maybe it's not. I don't really give a shiz. I just want to share it with you guys. But you look at the D-pads here, original Nintendo 64. The Retrobit one's a little smaller. Now, take a look at the D-pads on the Retro Fighters and the Hyperkin. They're the exact same mold. They're the same freaking D-pad. And then I started to notice, the buttons are the same, other than the font is slightly different on the A and B and the start. But they're like the same size, the same, almost everything other than these are flatter. And then looking at the C buttons, they're like... They have these V's on them, right? On the Retro Fighters and then the Hyperkin. It's the same V's. Did they get the same buttons, from the same mold and they just modified it slightly? They're V's. They're not arrows. They're V's. I found that kind of strange that it's the same buttons, essentially. The C buttons especially, and the D-pad for sure. And then when you look at the D-pad, there's a curvature, in the corners and the diagonals on both of them. They're the same damn thing. On the original and the Retro Fighters, the Retrobit, there's not. Insignificant, maybe, but whatever. The other thing I have to point out is the L and R's, or the LR and the Z buttons. Holy shit. I'm not like a sausage fingered mofo. Look at my hands. I'm not, come on, man. If you want to call me sausage fingers, get the hell off my channel, man. But my fingers aren't fat, okay? Leave me alone. Look at how I put my finger, I want to hold this. If I hold this like this and I'm double fingering these buttons, okay, got a little bit more control, but I don't like to play like that. I like to rest my middle finger right here, that little groove, rest it there, and use my index finger for pressing the buttons if I need them, right? And they're just so damn close. Like my finger, not a sausage finger, damn it. My finger, if I rest it up here, it's pressing both of them. Will that mess things up? Maybe. And then this one. Do you hear that? That Z button? That shit hurts my fingers pressing it. It's like stiff as heck, man. But I don't like that. They should have spaced those out a little further. The rest of the controllers got it right, in my opinion. You do have to have them next to each other to have this style controller. But, I mean, having a little space or having it as a trigger like this, I think works better. They try to do something in between, and to me, it's not working. It's just not working there. There's your sync button, by the way. Try to give you all the, man, I got so much to say about this thing, man. Holy crap. Okay, back to let me not break my system. The one thing with these dongles, like, you have to be careful because, okay, it looks like it's wobbly. It's not. It's just, if it moves, it's moving the controller ports inside the system. So don't trip over that thing. Don't step on it. You're going to jack up your system. Just a fair warning. I mean, what other way could have they done this other than just saying, you know what? Let's not put the controller pack or memory pack in there. And then I don't know if they would have been able to do that wirelessly, between this to the dongle. If they did it, a smaller dongle, I don't know. That's one of the selling points for people. But I do have to point this out as well. Some people are like, "What about rumble features, bro?" This controller doesn't have rumble, man. Where's the rumble pack slot? Oh, it's on the dongle. But the thing is, this does not fit in here. Like, I don't know. Like, it's weird. Like, the memory cards fit in there. Like, they just, I don't know. Are they different? Like, it's just weird. Like, a memory card will fit in this thing just fine. And I've tried, like, just out of curiosity, and, like, I can't get this in here without forcing it. I can't even, like, I can't force it. It just doesn't go in there, man. Kind of weird, right? I don't know why that is, but it won't fit in there. That's crazy. And this, I don't have a first party memory pack, so I don't know. Maybe Nintendo memory packs won't fit. I wouldn't imagine that's an issue. Maybe something slightly is off with the rumble. I do have 2 rumble packs. Okay, this one's missing the battery door. Don't freaking judge me, dude. But let's go ahead and see. No, it doesn't want to go in there. Now, it doesn't. I'm not going to force it. I don't want to break these things. But the point is, even if you wanted to get a rumble pack in one of these things, if you could get it to fit, if you had a third-party one that fits, it's going to rumble your system. Hyperkin states they are not liable if you rumble your system and you jack something up, so don't do it. I wouldn't recommend it either, because why do you want your system to rumble? Are you going to sit on it or something? I don't know. I don't know, but don't do it. There's no point in it. And also, the transfer pack doesn't work, that kind of thing. It is what it is. So using a controller, it's serviceable. It works. There's not many options out there. I'm waiting for other people to put out an option to really get into this. Wireless on the Nintendo 64. Some people will enjoy this. Some people will dig it. Subjective. I just don't really care for it that much. The analog feels okay. That's probably the best part. The D-pad, being it's the same exact D-pad from the Brawler 64, it feels okay, but it is a little chunky. Like, everything has that, like, hard, like, it's crazy. Like, these are stiff, man. They really, it's the membrane. We're going to show that in a second. But some people may like this. It's just, for me, it's just not as comfortable of a controller. But let's go ahead and do the benchmark on this, and then talk about the teardown. Show the teardown. So let's do it. Let's benchmark this analog. Okay, let's commence with the benchmark. You see, I'm using this controller. No funny business. Let's go to Tools and Service, Controller Test Tool. So I do this with all the controllers. I know I've done in the past. I don't remember all the results that I've got, but every controller is going to be different. Even this, between like another one of this, it may be slightly different, because all we're testing is the analog, the range of motion here. So we're going to go ahead and continue. I'm going to hold it up so you can see I'm actually pressing it and not like going funky. So right now it says up an A, up right an A, right an A, down right an A, down an A, down left, left, up left, and center. And you get that wonky ass wannabe square. It's not crazy bad, but the range of motion really should be a little more uniform. Now, I've seen worse than this. This isn't even that bad. And for me, using this, the analog doesn't feel that bad. It's just, you're going to have to realize what the range of motion is. So with this being a square, it's going to be similar to like a GameCube style, controller stick that's out there that people use as replacements. But if we go through this, so a new original Nintendo 64 should look like that, like a little, what do we got? Like an octagon type shape, fairly the same all around. But like I said, your results will vary quite a bit over use and just variations in the controllers. LN64 analog, a little wider octagon, a little loppy on one side, but not too crazy, just wider range of motion, so it takes longer to get the full speed going that way type of thing. That's what those numbers mean. And then a fake OEM style, very similar to original, just a little wonky, right? GameCube style is a square, should be the same numbers all around. Typically, the ones I've used have been very similar to that, might be off a little bit. GameCube style, another version, very similar results. You're off by 1 or 2 digits on each range there, but it's still about a square. And then our Hyperkin, not exactly a square. It's like a 2-year-old square, but it's still not bad. Not bad. Let's do the test one more time and just see if we get a better result. It varies, and I've seen some weirdness with this occasionally, where this side will be like straight cut off, and that's got to be the Bluetooth connectivity. There's something going on with that. So, not bad, but not great. I've seen worse, but there's still a lot better out there. So, when I tore this controller down, I tore down the black one. The components inside, everything looks okay. I'm not seeing anything crazy, fairly typical stuff. But looking at the membranes, these things are, like, for the buttons anyway, they're very thick. They're thicker. They have more distance to travel to make connection to register that button. And that's a little disappointing. I wish they were a little shorter, not quite as stiff. Maybe over time you could work it in. Maybe you can modify it if it bothers you. For some people, it might not. For me, it does. It's not going to be my go-to controller. I really want a wireless Nintendo 64 controller, a dedicated one. I know a lot of people have been telling me just get a RAFnet adapter, and I do have those for other systems anyway, not the Nintendo 64. But I want something dedicated. I want its own dedicated controller. I don't want to deal with adapters and dongles and all that stuff to use a Wavebird or something else. I just want a dedicated, good controller. For you, this might be it. For me, not so much. Do have to point out, these were sent to me by Worldwide Distribution. They've been taking care of me quite a bit lately, sending review products. They're the exclusive Hyperkin SNK distributor in Europe. They ship worldwide. They do have these things in stock. I'm very honest, man. Doesn't matter that I get sent a product. I have to share my honest opinions. And would I have bought this myself? I probably would have, just to test it out. But knowing what I know now, would I buy one? If I had to like give this back, would I go out and buy one to replace it? Nope, I sure wouldn't. Not for me. Maybe it's for you. I'm just here to inform, not to influence. Use what you've seen in this video however you want. But hey, I really do appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Just wanted to share my thoughts and my opinions here. And with that said, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out. Thumb butt and boom. Bye.